Welcome to Get the Facts, the show that gives you information on the latest topics. I'm Theodore Henry. Whether we're experiencing a hurricane or not, the National Works Agency plays a crucial role in ensuring that the country's infrastructure and communities are prepared for potential disasters. Today we delve into the strategies, the preparations, and the post-hurricane efforts that the NWA employs to safeguard Jamaica's resilience and recovery. Joining me now is Stephan, Manager of Communications and Customer Service at the National Works Agency. Sir Stephan, greetings.
Blessings.
All right, let's jump into getting some facts. Everybody's thinking about Beryl. There has been a collective sigh of relief that we didn't have the worst of it, as far as some people see, but you have a better view than the rest of us. So tell us, what's the damage like?
Well, you know, I agree with most Jamaicans that we were spared significant damage. What we have seen are a lot of impact in relation to downed trees and power lines.
Right.
Those in the main are what we have had to respond to in the over 250 and climbing reports that we have received, impacting some 200 roads. We have been able to respond and have been able to get persons moving about the country once more.
Right.
Thankfully, you know, we didn't suffer any great damage to any retaining structures, any bridges, you know, road embankments being torn away and that kind of a thing. And so we are very thankful. You know, it's pretty easy to go in and have trees cut, heavy equipment, load them onto a truck and then remove them, so that persons will have access to roads. Some roads were rendered impassable, others were impacted in terms of a single lane fashion, you know, but we're thankful.
All right. I know that this also might be something that's very interesting for our viewers. How does the NWA prioritize where it gets the resources and restoration first? All
right. So there's a standard plan that we function through or by. Where you have roads that lead to critical installations, we try to ensure that those are treated as priority. So the roads that lead to the seaports, the airports, roads that lead to hospitals, community centers, health centers, roads that lead to JPSCO and NWC installations, you know, police stations. We want to ensure that those are accessible, because those are critical service centers, and there are personnel at these locations that require our movement for them to be able to move. Right,
because even with the restoration, which I'm going to ask you about now, because NWA doesn't do everything themselves. It's done hand in hand with this and that agency.
Yes.
Right. So give us a sense of how the plans and the preparations, what plans and preparations are in place for post-hurricane recovery.
All right. So there is a national disaster committee that the NWA is a part of.
Right.
And so when the committee kicks in terms of goes into effect, all critical stakeholders sit in the room, and so whatever information there is shared right across the board.
After so critical stakeholders like who?
Fire, police, the Army, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Local Government, you know, all critical players in the country's recovery efforts. And so we share information and where it is that we need to move as an agency. Then, of course, the information is there and we act accordingly. Critically, we engage our stakeholders in the form of contractors who own heavy equipment that we rely on to be able to move quickly,
to
clear roads, to clear drains, to go into riverbeds and so on, because it's one thing to have the plan, it's another thing to have it executed and executed well.
Very true.
So that persons are satisfied.
Yes.
And so it's a lot of moving parts that we have to be able to bring together to ensure that at the end of the day, the country's business continues interrupted, but for not too long.
Right. Because we want that restoration to get started almost immediately afterwards.
There you go.
Right. And what measures do the NWA put in place to ensure the safety of citizens, though? We've been talking about infrastructure. What about citizens?
Well, in terms of, in the context of disaster, because we're speaking about burial. Right. One of the critical things that we do is that we communicate. We say to persons, we pretty much know the lay of the land. We know where we tend to have issues of landslides, we tend to have flooding, we tend to have rockfalls. Right. And so you'll see traveling around Jamaica, for example, areas where signs are erected saying falling rocks. We have worked with the Ministry of Local Government and the municipal corporations to erect signs, flood gauges, and ODPM2 involved. So you have an idea as to where it is that is low-lying, and where once you see floodwaters reaching a certain level, right, you should not venture. And so we encourage persons to follow our lead, to heed the warnings, not only by the NWA, but when they get it from the police and other responsible organizations. And so that goes into that's part of our preparatory steps. We also, where necessary, we may pre-position equipment at certain locations, right, to be able to respond quicker, right, to situations, because and it's not just equipment but personnel. So having, because you can have the equipment on the location, but then you don't have an operator.
That is so true.
It doesn't help you.
I have to break you right now. This is fascinating, because we also need to talk about during the hurricane itself. But we're going to go to a break right now. The discussion will continue with Stephen Shaw, Manager of Communications and Customer Service at the National Works Agency, NWA. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're still talking with Stephen Shaw, the Manager of Communications and Customer Service at the National Works Agency, NWA. We're discussing the strategies, the preparations, the post-hurricane efforts that the NWA employs to safeguard Jamaica's resilience and recovery. Now, Sir Shaw, picking up from where we broke, you were talking about the preparatory work, but I also know that NWA communicates during the event itself, because a road might be flooded, for example, don't it? Yes. So what channels are we?
All right, so we use free-to-air media, and we have gone onto the social media network.
Yes, sir.
And so we use our Instagram handle, we use Twitter now, X, very well as well. And we also, engage, as I said, the other persons in the communities through WhatsApp groups, say, to try and get the information to as wide a population as possible.
So some of those WhatsApp forwarded messages is on it coming from? Or it started,
It may very well be.
Okay.
But we are very careful with some of those, because persons may very well edit and
True.
mislead.
True.
So we prefer if persons follow us and be able to then share our story.
Right.
In that way.
From the source itself.
Yes.
But so we're talking about using the advancements in social media, digital media. But from past hurricane seasons, what have we learned and what advancements in technology in terms of building, roadwork, preparation is the NWA now employing? Well,
because of the way where we are situated and the kinds of impact that we'd have seen over the years, when we are building out infrastructure,
yes,
we take those things into consideration. So where, for example, we may put, let us say, a 2-foot culvert. We, rather than putting a 2-foot, we decide to put 3.
Okay.
Or where we might have put a cylindrical culvert, we may decide to put a box.
Difference between flooding and...
Because then what you're seeking to do, or what we seek to do, is to build a greater amount of resilience into the network.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily mean, that you're gonna you get an event, your road will not flood.
Right.
What it means is that so soon after the flooding or the event has passed, the flood waters recede, it's easier for you to go in and clean up because there is some resilience in your network.
Understood.
It won't rip up everything, and you have to go back from ground zero.
Right.
To build.
Rebuild the whole.
You understand? Thing. If you have, let us say, when Gustav impacted Jamaica in 2008, the Bogwalk Gorge was left impassable for an extended period. One of the decisions that we took was to put concrete as part of the road inside there.
Right.
We have had a couple more events subsequent to that.
Yeah, we have.
The water flowing well above the road. And we have not really had that kind of damage because, again, resilience was built into the network there, given the experience coming out of Tropical Storm Gustav.
I noticed you snuck a success story in there. I'm happy to hear that one. But looking ahead, what are some of the NWA's key priorities in continuing the growth towards resilience?
Well, we have to ensure that we continue to build out our main road network. We have to, where possible, lift roads out of some of the low areas that they're in.
Lift them?
Yeah, man, lift them, because sometimes a road might have been built in a basin. Or you have embankments on the other side and the road is lower than the embankment.
Okay.
And so in order to try and reduce the incidence of flooding, you lift the road, and so either you lift it to the level of the embankment or higher than the embankment, so the water stays off.
Understood.
We have to do that. We have to engage people more for them to own the roads when we rehabilitate them. When you own it, you take better care of it. Okay. And it's not dissimilar from owning a motor vehicle or the shirt or the pants or the jacket that you wear.
All right.
You own it, you're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
If you own the road,
tell me how that works.
You're not, if you see yourself as a part owner in this road, you're not going to dig it up. You're not going to dump stuff on the side of the road and leave it for an extended period.
Right.
When it rains, the water come and you have fissures in the road, and then it starts to deteriorate.
Okay.
And before long, you have no road, and then you start to cry, government,
understanding
road, and so on and so forth.
Right.
When you have a stake in it, you won't block the drains. You won't set fire to some of the areas. Might have been inadvertent. We saw the report in Montego Bay where the fire truck got stuck in an area that they responded to when the drain was being, there was a fire in a drain because somebody decided to light some garbage.
In the drain?
In the drain. But then the drain was made from plastic pipes.
Wow, okay.
So it burnt the plastic, and we have been saying in a lot of rural areas, you find persons using drains as garbage receptacles, and then they burn the garbage, burning the culverts from beneath the road.
Understood.
Those kind of things, when you own it, you ain't gonna do that.
Understood, understood. You almost started preaching there. We're in the final few seconds of the interview. I need advice. Their guests are watching, our business owners, people from the communities, people who you want to be owning roads are watching. Give us some final advice in the last few seconds.
Well, as I said, you know, if you own something, you take care of it. We're spending billions of dollars in rehabilitating roads. When you are doing certain things, you know, whether it is you're doing your construction activities, you're doing your farming, you want to ensure that you help us to put you in a position to be able to move better, because if you do things which are wrong as it relates to maintaining the infrastructure, then we all will suffer.
The call is to own your roads as the NWA does what they do from the national level. And that's all the time we have for today. We've been having a discussion with Stephan Shaw, the Manager of Communications and Customer Service at the National Works Agency. And this has been Get the Facts. And I'm your host, Theodore Henry. Until next time, stay safe and remember to take the necessary precautionary measures to protect you and your loved ones throughout the hurricane season.